Hello everybody and welcome to this demo movie on how to set up an Active Directory and terminal server onto Belgacom Becloud vDatacenter. For this demo movie we will have following setup. So we have 3 servers, a domain controller and 2 terminal servers, and we have set up the domain names already appropriate. For this demo we will use the Becloud online.be domain. Important to know is that this is not an instruction movie on how terminal server works from Microsoft, but more specifically what the very specific items are to take into account when setting it up onto vDatacenter. There are 3 topics, and in the next few steps we will go over them on how to do it. So the first important thing is that prior to the installation of the domain controller we have already done some preparations. So we have deployed from the server catalog a Windows server. I've configured the port forward I could access the machine. I have written down the public IP address and also the DNS alias, and I have changed my first time boot password. So I've connected to my machine, and the first specific thing you need to know before you could set up a domain controller onto the vDatacenter is that you need to change the machine from the DHCP address that it has received to a fixed IP address. And to do that you have to go to the settings of the IPv4 stack of the machine and change the dynamic DHCP address to a fixed IP address. The IP address you need to use is actually the same IP address that was assigned via DHCP. The vDatacenter platform assigns DHCP IP addresses with an infinitive lease time, so there is no risk that those IP addresses will be distributed again. So it's really important that you use the IP address that was assigned to the machine, otherwise the port forwarding or the other tools will not work anymore and you will not be able to access the machine. So I have made the changes to the settings. If everything goes well, you will see that the connection is dropped for a few seconds, but then you're connected again. So let's go to step number 2. So we have now a fixed IP address to the machine, and the rest is like any other standard AD installation. So I'm myself not an AD specialist, so I will do a standard and simple install by only selecting the roles that are really needed, and for the rest try to do as much as possible next finish install. So this is what's is going on now. So I've just selected the AD role and the installation will start. So once the installation is finished, it's important that you give the machine a more appropriate name than the name that was assigned to it automatically. So I will give this machine now the name AD server, and I will reboot the machine. It's important to do this before you promote the machine to a domain controller, because once you have promoted the machine to a domain controller it cannot be changed anymore. So machine has been rebooted, it has a new name. So now let's finish the domain setup and promote the machine to domain controller. So again, let's try to do it as simple as possible. So I'm starting a new first. I call this Becloud online.be, and we're going to do again a simple next finish install. So I'm selecting my domain password. Voila. Next. And for the rest I leave most of the settings as they are. So I'm not going to change anything to these settings. I'm just going to continue and finish the domain setup. What I also have done for this demo, I have created a user Steven in the domain who has the rights to use the terminal server connections. So this has been done so for this demo. Okay, so the next step is once the domain controller is up and running, we need to add the terminal server machines to the domain. Again, I'm not going to explain how to install the machines. That's been explained already in other demo sessions. The most important thing is that you point first the DNS server to this new domain controller. Otherwise, on the moment you try to add the machine to the domain, he will not be able to find it. So I'm now changing again the settings to point to the DNS server of this terminal server to the internal IP address of the AD server. So this is what I'm doing right now. And you will notice that now if I try to add the machine to the domain, he will be able to find the domain controller and will be able to join it. This is, by the way, adding the terminal server 2012 to the domain. You need to do, if you work with 2008, you need to do exactly the same. I'm mixing 2008 and 2012 in this demo. I just want to show you that it works with both flavors. The next steps, so the setting up of the terminal server will be done with 2008, but 2012 is similar. So this is now finished. So the machine is now going to reboot and be part of the domain. So I have done this for the 2012. I have done this for the 2008 machine. Of course, you don't need to do it for your setup with two machines. You need to choose which terminal server you want to use. I'm going to continue with the 2008 explanation. So I'm doing again a very simple terminal server setup. I'm selecting the few roles that I need. I don't need the advanced, so I'm just going to use the session host and the gateway, and I'm going through a simple setup. I'm also not going to explain how the licenses work. You can use whatever license you want. We have on our website more explanation on licenses. So there is on Becloud vDatacenter a document which explains how the Microsoft licenses work and how you could or make use of SPLA or make use of license mobility on open to get your needed Windows licenses onto the machine. Also important to explain to you that the Windows license itself is being taken care of by Belgacom, but if you need, for example, the terminal server licenses, those need to be purchased individually, and the documentation is as explained on the website. So while the installation continues, you will notice that I have not done anything special. It's just very simple next finish install. I didn't change many parameters. There is one thing which is specific and which has to do with the network address translation of the vDatacenter, but that's something we can configure afterwards. So I'm just going to skip to all the more complex and finish the installation. Also notice that the DNS setup that I have made corresponds with the same names as the machines that we are deploying. This makes the setup a lot easier. So once the roles are installed, you notice that we're already at the next step. So the installation finished and we can complete the setup. So let's open the appropriate tools. So let's open the remote app manager. And here is the thing you need to know if you would use another external name for the machine than the internal name. So in this case, both the external DNS name that I have configured on our public DNS and the one inside the vDatacenter are the same. If that would not be the case, you could change this here in the gateway settings. So the last thing that I need to do before I can start testing is adding a few applications, which is being done right now. So I'm going to add the standard applications like Paint and WordPad, and voila, this should finish my setup. So let's have a test if everything's works. So the first test that we will do is in the vDatacenter. So I'm on the terminal server itself and I'm going to connect to it. Noticed that I'm connecting now through HTTPS localhost, and we'll see if everything works from in the vDatacenter before we going to test it from from external. So I'm going to connect with my user that I have created, and the applications are available and we can connect to them. The application should now start. So now we know for sure that the terminal server itself works and that we can connect to it. So the last step is that we going to add the necessary ports. So in the vDatacenter GUI, I'm going to port forward first of all the terminal server port, so the 3389, and I'm going to add also the HTTPS port from the public IP address to the terminal server. So this is for the 2008 setup. If you would do it for 2012, then of course you need to point it to your 2012 machine. Also make sure that you don't use the public ports for any other service. If that is the case, you first need to remove it. So now we have made the service publicly available, so let's try and connect to it from remote. So you notice that it's working. Also note that I'm using self-signed certificates, so that's why I have the red bars and the notifications at the beginning. So everything looks good. I can connect to my terminal server, I see my applications, and I can start them up. Maybe one small remark, I'm here with my local PC in the Belgacom domain. If you want to connect from remote, don't forget that you have to give the credentials for the remote domain that you're using, otherwise it will not work. Voila, I have given the credentials and I'm now able to start up the application from remote. As explained, this is not the intention to explain everything for 2012 also, but it's similar. So first set the DNS to point to the AD server like already shown, add the server to the domain, install the terminal server also. I will show a quick demo on how I have done that, then add applications and users, test locally, set up the port forwarding, and then test remote. For 2012, what I have done a remote desktop service installation, so I have not done it role-based, but I have used here. And again, I'm not a terminal server specialist, so I have done a quick setup and a standard session-based installation. And again, I'm clicking a few times next and the software was installed. And for the rest, it's exactly the same. So it's adding the users and the applications and making sure that the port forwarding in the vDatacenter is done correct so you can connect to it. So let's have a quick recap what is specific for vDatacenter for setting up a terminal server. First of all, AD, you need to fix the IP address and use the same IP address as assigned from the DHCP server from vDatacenter. Point the DNS to the domain controller prior to joining them into the domain. And last but not least, make sure that you port forward the correct ports. I thank you. More information of this video is on becloud.be or via info@becloud.be.